Good evening and welcome to the Town Board of the Town of Ossining regular meeting for Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Feldman,
Present.
Councilmember Manicchio.
Here.
Councilmember Felix Terwell
Here.
and Supervisor Levenberg.
I'm here.
Okay, we have our public hearing for the Briarcliff Manor Cabaret license for 2022.
Great, thank you. So the Briarcliff Manor has filed a renewal of its cabaret license for 2022. The application has been reviewed by our building inspector and police department prior to it being considered by the board for a public hearing. Councilor Donna, do you have anything to add about their 2022 request before we open it up for public comment?
No, it's just a renewal.
Okay, and I do believe we received some communication earlier in the day from one of the neighbors asking, because they were not going to be able to attend this evening, to be entered into the public hearing. Specifically, they were concerned about noise coming outside, that the doors should be closed. And I don't remember if that was built in to the most recent version or not of their license. Oh, I think we have that person who's logged in. I'm pretty sure that's probably going to be Greg Meyer.
Yes,
Okay.
we're working on it.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it. Okay. So in any case, let me just double check. So is there anybody here to address the town board on the Briarcliff Manor Cabaret license? Anybody here? Anybody from the board have anything to say?
I just think the email said they were asking, could the doors and windows remain closed while they're using speakers and playing music? That's what, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's, if there's nobody else here, I think that we might take a motion to close this public hearing. Do I have one?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you so much. And next up, we have our annual presentation from Mike Ritchie with Dolph Rotfeld Engineers on our 2021-22 draft stormwater annual report. The report is posted to our website and captures all of the town's efforts during the past year to educate the community and mitigate impacts of stormwater pollution. Although it's not a public hearing, we do need to offer members of the public an opportunity to comment as part of this discussion. So Mike, I'm going to turn it over to you, and then we will open it up for public comment.
Thank you. This is a report that is required to be completed, and it covers the activities that the town workforce as well as the community is involved in to mitigate any activities that result in pollution being contained or included in your stormwater runoff. Stormwater definition is what collects as a result of rainfall. It can include other discharges of water, but primarily it's what the rainwater collects as it traverses your streets and sidewalks and off people's property, public property, and ends up in the storm drains and ultimately discharged by way of an outfall to a water body of the United States. And that is the basis for their authority, for the state's authority from the federal government to require you to address issues that result from the stormwater runoff and any pollution that it might contain, and ultimately end up in a water body of the United States. There are 6 minimum measures that have to be reported on. It's my understanding that the report has been made available on the website. It is a quite a number of pages, and we meet, Rothfeld, represented by Jim Maxwell, and I meet with the departmental representatives annually to collect the information from them about their activities associated with their departments that are in the direction of meeting the requirements of the reporting. It really doesn't result initially or immediately in any determination by the state, but it is can be used as the basis for a further in-person evaluation of what is being done by the municipality to meet the requirements of the federal legislation and as it is being enforced and pursued by the State Department of Environmental Conservation. And there are 6 minimum measures that are required to be reported on. The first measure is, first 2 measures really have to do with the effort to reach out to the community with information about what's being done to and what they can do, and educate them on what can be done to promote clean stormwater runoff. These measures over the last 2 years have been a little diluted, to use a term, because we haven't been able to do a lot in person. So that what has been done is on your website. There's general information. There are connections on the website to other state and federal sources that people can research and determine what is in their daily activities, watering lawns, cutting grass, disposing of grass clippings or leaves, how runoff from a private property can end up polluting a public water course, and general household activities that can be followed that are helpful, that individuals can do. Then minimum measure 3, 4, 5, and 6, minimum measures 3 through 6 all deal with what the municipality is required to do. And minimum measure 3 is to investigate any reports of illicit discharges. If, for instance, somebody were to be working on a construction site, typically they're required to maintain the water discharge from the site in a manner through hay bales or storm fences that doesn't result in the ground, in the dirt under construction being washed into the water course. there are factors associated with, we used to have to control people and report people who were discharging their oil from their vehicles into catch basins, or disposing, for instance, of dog waste or pet waste into catch basins that ended up then collecting and being discharged into water courses. Much of that has been dealt with by my experience. People are much more careful about how they dispose of toxic materials, for instance, that they aren't discharged or disposed of in a manner that would end up in a water course. And you are a waterfront community, so it's important for you to do what you can to see that potentially toxic or polluting materials are disposed of properly. And then minimum measures 5 and 6 deal with your departments. The building department, how they inspect construction sites, see that the discharge from construction sites is properly handled, and no activities that would contribute to pollution are continued or they are evaluated and remediated. And then the last minimum measure is what your Public Works Department is required to report on, how leaf collection is done, how they discharge various responsibilities like cleaning the streets, how often the streets are mechanically swept, what happens to the street sweepings, where they go, how they're disposed of, and that they're properly handled. A variety of data, how the garage is set up so that the waste oil is properly handled, and the drains in the garage discharged to a proper location and not into a water course. So there's a variety of public activities associated with your local government that have to be reported on. And we meet with all the departments, the supervisor, and review the activities, what you do to promote good, clean water practices at your street fairs, at your parks, when you have the opportunity, and material that's handed out on your website. It overall is a report that reflects your effort to address the objective of the law, which is to promote good practices among your residents associated with handling of materials and paying attention to discharges of water into the river or water courses that lead to the river. And this is the 21st year. This is the approximately the 21st year that this reporting requirement has been in effect. There was an effort about 2 or 3 years ago for the state to upgrade the requirements for the municipalities, increase the requirements for the municipality to address water concerns, clean water concerns. It was postponed or shelved for a time But now it is actively being discussed again, what additional requirements are going to be added to this going forward. I'm not it's not my intent tonight to account for that one way or another. It's my understanding that the state is reviewing the feedback that they've gotten from municipalities about what can be done as a practical matter, and try to reach some understanding with them. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that by this time next year, it's very likely that there may be more discussion in that direction about what further should be done. But I'd also add, just as a postscript, and then I'll stop this and see if there's any questions I could help you with. But the results of the effort by the state and the municipalities is resulting in reports that water quality in the state's streams and rivers is improving, and measurably improving. And that includes the Hudson River, includes the bays and estuaries that make up the tributaries to the Hudson River. And it does the feedback that the effort isn't just to make more work. It is to hopefully address water pollution concerns that had been unaddressed and unmitigated for many years, as we all know, the reports of some very difficult circumstances in many locations. But
Thanks, Mike. That's great. Are you done?
encourage-
One more thing? Okay, go ahead.
I'm happy to try to answer any questions.
Okay, yes, I just wanted to add that I think many of our board members and public know that we've been trying to get the public beach, the little sandy area of the beach at Engle Park open for many years, and part of the issue has been water quality, and we've also tried to get some grants to help us find ways to improve the space, but also to help with what we believe may be contributing to the water quality not being perfect for
Right.
swimming conditions down there. And I think it's possible that we may have collected enough information last year to apply for a grant this year to address some of the issues which could be coming sort of from upstream and also from the wastewater treatment plant that's right next to the beach. So those are two areas, the Sing Sing Kill and the wastewater treatment plant, and Hudson Valley Arts and Sciences has sort of been a leader on that. So we're grateful for their work in that area. And there are a number of grants that just actually, I think, were put out today to address some of these areas of cleaning up water. And I would also just mention, just because I think it's included in my announcements, but last weekend there was River Sweep, which is one of the efforts that Riverkeeper's Sweep, which is one of the efforts that Riverkeeper makes up and down the Hudson to look for ways to clean up areas along on the tributaries of the Hudson, as well as along the coast. And many of, we had participants, I think a couple of different parks and along the Hudson this year. And then this coming weekend is the postponed I Love My Parks Day, which is also another way that we're able to help, again, work on some of those clean water issues. And I think we talked about, we have this area for the Croton River Indian Brook watershed that we have a number of municipalities participating in to look at an overlay zone to protect the watershed. That is continuing, sort of behind the scenes, but that continues to go on. So like you said, Mike, I think a lot of the attention that was brought to bear 21 years ago on making sure that, these efforts, and obviously there's we know big polluters that have polluted the river for many years that have been, their feet held to the fire, maybe not quite as close to the fire as we would like, or quite as quickly, but they have had to make efforts to clean up the Hudson, but also everybody again takes personal responsibility for what they can do and how they can participate, whether it's mulching in place, not using fertilizer, some of the things that you mentioned, or pesticides, and we and anytime we get reports, and of late we actually have gotten a number of reports of people seeing things, and we have sent out our stormwater inspector, John Hamilton, to take a look at some of the reports. Sometimes if we get them and we're not there at the time, it's hard to identify exactly what it was, but we have, we follow up on all of those leads to see if there's anything that we can do. We also recently had a report of pesticides being used in near one of our parks, actually in one of our parks, I guess you could say, or adjacent to one of our parks, and in another municipality. And that's something that we have been working and trying to get a report from the other municipality about what exactly was used and why it was used so close to our water body. So we'll continue to follow up on that. I just wanted to address those issues because I know that people have brought them to our attention like in the last couple of weeks. So while we're talking about stormwater runoff and clean water bodies, it's important to acknowledge that there have seemingly been some infractions recently.
All good, worthwhile effort, and all in the direction of the legislation and the spirit of the legislation, as well as the detail of it. So that's and you've always been very attentive to the spirit of it and the requirements, as has the staff, and we're happy to assist you in reporting on that.
Thanks so much. Now I'm just going to open it up to the town board for any questions or comments.
Now, I did want to mention that even though the pandemic, has taken away some of our educational opportunities, Green Ossining continued to provide assorted opportunities, including having kids paint storm drains, saying that they lead to the Hudson, and a bunch of other likely things, as well as the environmental club going down and showing the kids water testing and everything. So our community really has continued to do public outreach, teach especially our youth, but our greater Ossining body as well, about different ways that can protect our waterways and different ways to address and help prevent people from polluting them. So we're pretty proud of that.
All of that is gold, helping to educate the next generation, the children, school-age children, and their awareness of it, their interest in it, and then a lifetime of good practice is all to the, in the spirit and to the benefit of the environment.
And I just want to add one thing, Councilwoman Feldman neglected to mention, which is legislation that she has taken the lead on, which is to eliminate balloon releases in the town of Ossining, not allow them anymore for memorials and weddings and whatever else people decide that they want to release balloons into the environment, because we know that they often end up in our water bodies, pollute our water bodies, harm our wildlife, and generally clog up the works, which we don't think we should be doing anymore. So that's just another way of protecting our water bodies. So grateful for you taking the lead on that, Councilwoman Feldman. Any other questions from the town council? Okay, let's open it up to public comment. If there's anybody who would like to comment, you got 4-minute dose. Please raise your virtual hand if you would like to do so. Going once, twice, and Okay. Thank you so much, Mike, and also to Jim, and also to our entire staff that participated in pulling this report together. We are grateful for the participation, as Mike said, that everybody takes it seriously. We continue to look for ways to improve and do a better job educating the public about how important it is to protect our natural resources and certainly our water bodies. So Mike, we appreciate all your help and guidance on this, and certainly your time presenting this evening. So thank you.
And we're delighted to work with the town of Austining in the effort of clean water and healthy environment for all, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so much. Have a great night. Thank you. All right, I think we are up to announcements, and I have a few, so let me go. This Friday, May 13th, the Austining community is invited to the first annual COVID-19 Remembrance Memorial Ceremony at Nelson Sitting Park at 9 a.m., which is the COVID Memorial Park now is in that park. The memorial will serve as a quiet place for residents and visitors to stop and remember those we lost during the COVID-19 pandemic. We also will be honoring some of our first responders, and look forward to having that opportunity to thank everybody who really rallied during the pandemic. We were just talking about that a little earlier with Mike before off camera before we got started. After a bit of a rainy weekend, compost give back days are back this Friday, May 13th and Saturday, May 14th for participants in our food scrap recycling program. Participants in the program can pick up 6 gallons of free compost at Cedar Lane Park from 9 a.m. to 12 noon on Friday or Saturday. Registration in advance is preferred but not required to participate in this fun day and get your gardens started. The compost will come from Sustainable Materials Management, Inc. in Cortland, which is the facility where our food scraps are composted locally. Saturday, May 14th is also the return of the Green Austining Repair Cafe. Stop by the community center from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. with your broken but beloved items and have them fixed for free. I can tell you they have fixed our electric lawnmower and definitely, I think, my husband's bicycle. Maybe my bicycle, one of the bicycles. Got to put that back into use. The Austining Arts Council is hosting a free community art event in support of Ukraine on Saturday, May 14th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Market Square. Connect with our community and express yourself on a large canvas using your drawing tools of choice. Cash donations are appreciated and will go towards World Central Kitchen's effort to provide food to those impacted by the war in Ukraine. This Saturday and Sunday, May 14th and 15th, is the Spring 2022 Westchester Craft Crawl. It's back. This event features 48 professional craft artists over 4 tour stops in Austining and Croton from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. both days, rain or shine. Visit westchestercraftcrawl.com for more information and to plan your shopping. Peter Kalo and Ann Carpenter will perform an evening of timeless singer-songwriters with special guest Aaron Hike on Saturday, May 14th at 7:30 p.m. at Westchester Collaborative Theater. Grab your tickets at wctheater.org. Ann Carpenter, at least, is definitely an Austinite. I can't read, or Austin not. Is Peter Kalo from Austining too? I'm looking at Councilman Feldman. Perchance. Yes, no?
It's who?
Peter Kalo, who's singing with Annie?
I don't know.
I don't know. But I can tell you, Annie, she's one of my faves. So definitely check her out. She's amazing.
Absolutely.
Really, really great. Also, Fable Farm, with an Austining address, but truly in Yorktown, is hosting Fable Farm Fest from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. this Sunday. Sunday? I thought it was Sunday. I think it's Sunday. I have written down Saturday, but I think it's Sunday. They are on Route 134 near the Taconic. 1311 Kitchewan Road is the exact address. They'll have a whole bunch of great vendors, live music, family-friendly artists, and entertainment. Maybe you could even pat a free roaming chicken or two if you're lucky. I did that. That's fun. I held a chicken. It's fun. Support the Ossining High School PTSA by picking up a food truck dinner on Takeout Tuesday, which is Tuesday, May 17th from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. in the Ossining High School parking lot. Support Ossining teachers and students and enjoy some yummy dinner from a few local favorites. And I'm looking at, Victoria, did you look that up and see if it was Saturday or
I
Sunday?
did. It's Sunday.
It's Sunday. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Somebody told me it was Saturday, then they changed it to Sunday, but I for some reason wrote down Saturday. All right, that is it for my announcements. Do any of my board colleagues have additional announcements to share? Seeing none and hearing none. I think we lost Greg. Okay.
You know what? I will say that the Ossining Boat and Canoe Club is up and running. And if anybody is interested in an affordable place to keep a boat or a kayak or just enjoy the river, obcc.org, click on membership and anyone can join. So yeah.
Fantastic. The other thing that actually just reminded me of was darn it, it popped into my head and then just popped right out. Oh, Alan Stahl is doing a tour against
Okay.
when is it? Jug Tavern.
Walking tour.
Yeah, is that this weekend? I feel like that's May. Is that May 14th? I think it is. So yeah, it's a walking tour and I think it's May 14th. So go to jugtavern.org, I believe, and check it out. I think you do have to make reservations in advance. And I believe, I don't know why, again, that's in my head that it's May 14th. I believe it's this weekend.
It is May 15th.
Okay, sorry about that. Sunday, May 15th. And do I have it right? Jugtavern.org?
Yep, jugtavern.org.
There you go.
Perfect. All one word.
Awesome.
And it's really a great tour if you like history. Yeah, it's a great tour. It's well worth doing. It's free.
There you have it. Just have to sign up. Okay, up to administrative reports unless anybody has anything extra to announce. Okay. Without that, I'm getting into last week. We presented to the community and the local planning committee as part of the downtown revitalization initiative, the town's request for funding for a new performance space at Lewis Angle Park. It was great to hear that the project was well received by the community members and LPC members, and we are now working on refining our vision with concept plans for the new stage. Visit the Village of Austin's website to learn more about the DRI grant opportunity, review the proposed projects, and submit your comments on the projects proposed thus far. It will be great to see how the DRI money will be spent to revitalize Austin's downtown and spur economic development. I also attended a partner meeting for Austin Communities That Care, our local coalition dedicated to improving the overall well-being of youth and families. We listened to updated data from the annual teen substance use study, and I was happy to learn that in spite of the pandemic and recent moves to decriminalize and legalize adult marijuana use, teen substance use in Austin has continued to decline. It is important to have conversations with young people in your life about substance use and abuse to ensure that they are well informed about the risks, and also the fact that substance use and abuse is not the norm among their peers, despite what they may think. Visit the CTC website, austinCTC.org, to learn more about how to start these conversations and keep them going. It makes a difference, and the campaign that they're focused on right now is Grown-Ups Show Up. I did actually do a little videotape today just to support that effort, and hopefully that'll be part of their community outreach. And we are a coalition of all of the different stakeholders in the community that work on this by putting positive, proactive work in place to keep youth occupied with things that are safe and healthy, as opposed to turning to drugs and alcohol. Now that we are well into spring, many of our road paving and rehabilitation projects can resume, including the McCarthy Drive Road Rehabilitation Project. The town's contractor paused operations during the winter months, but will be remobilizing on site to complete the project starting Monday, May 16th. Residents along McCarthy Drive and surrounding roads who are directly impacted by the project have received a more detailed update via email last week, If you live on McCarthy Drive and do not already receive our updates, please call my office at 914-762-6001 so we can make sure you get on the list. We also anticipate that the Morningside Drive paving project will start back up sometime after Memorial Day, so stay tuned for more updates. That one should take about 2 weeks. That is it for my administrative report. And with that, I will turn it over to our Deputy Clerk, Martha Kudisaka.
Okay, is there any public comments on any of the agenda items tonight? Okay, seeing no one. So is Councilmember Greg Meyer not going to be voting on any of the resolutions, or is he coming back in?
I believe he is not going to be able to vote because he is clearly out of range.
Okay.
I don't believe so. If we see him pop back on and if we can hear his voice, then we will, I
Sure.
guess, let him vote.
Okay, thank you. Just let me know if I'm reading and I don't notice. Okay, thank you.
Will do.
Okay, so 1 second. Okay, so approval of minutes, regular meeting, April 26, 2022. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the April 26, 2022 minutes of the regular meeting as presented.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Approval of voucher detail report. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the voucher detail report dated May 10th, 2022 in the amount of $139,754.26.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Or just say Councilman Minichio and Councilwoman Fields Tuile do not get used to these last 2 voucher detail reports. The next one's going to be making up for all these. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Okay. Resolution local law number 3 of 2022, prohibition on release of balloons and sky lanterns. Whereas although balloon and sky lantern releases are common ways to celebrate and or memorialize people and or occasions, there is a considerable objective and scientific evidence that such activities are contrary to town policy and law of not littering, protecting our environment and wildlife, and being good stewards of the Hudson River. And whereas the town board is in the interest of protecting the public health, safety, and welfare, considered a local law to prohibit the release of balloons and sky lanterns subject to certain exemptions. And whereas the town board opened a duly noticed public hearing on the proposed local law at its regular meeting on Tuesday, April 26, 2022, and members of the public having the opportunity to attend and be heard, the public hearing was closed on April 26, 2022. And whereas said local law has been on the desks of the member of the town board for the last 7 days, exclusive of Sunday, prior to the adoption of this resolution. And now therefore be it resolved, the town board hereby adopts a negative declaration pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, determining this action does not have the potential to have any significant adverse environmental impacts, as a local law would further protect the environment by prohibiting the release of materials that often become litter on land and in water and can harm wildlife. And be it further resolved, the town board, after due deliberation, finds that it is furtherance of the safety, health, and well-being of the persons and property in the town. It is in the best interest of the town to adopt the local law, and the town board hereby adopts local law number 3 of 2022 entitled Prohibition on the Release of Balloons and Sky Lanterns. And be further resolved, the town clerk is directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting on the local law book for the town of Austin, to publish said minutes in a newspaper published in the town, if any, or in such newspapers published in the county in which such town may locate, having a circulation in such town. And affidavits of said publication shall be filed with the town clerk, and to file a copy of said local law with the Secretary of State of New York.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
So thank you to Councilmember Feldman for championing this legislation. We're hopeful that it will go a long way in educating the community on how to protect our environment. And I think that it's perfectly timely that we should be adopting it. And we have to do a roll call vote, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm looking at our council. So I think it's wonderful that we are going to be adopting it the same night that we had our MS4 report. It's perfectly wonderful. Okay, so with that, turn it back over to Martha for the roll call.
Okay, Councilmember Feldman,
Aye.
Councilmember Manicchio,
Aye.
Councilmember Fields Toil,
Aye.
Councilmember Meyer,
Aye.
and Supervisor Levenberg.
Aye.
Okay.
Enthusiastic aye. I forgot to say enthusiastic.
Okay. Resolution declaring support for the New York State Climate Actions Council scoping plan, whereas the sixth assessment of the International Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, finds that climate change is causing dangerous and widespread disruption in nature and affecting the lives of billions of people around the world. And whereas the IPCC assessment concludes the rapid, deep, and sustained reductions in global greenhouse emissions, GHG, are necessary, including accelerated action in this critical decade to limit global warming to within 1.5 degrees Celsius and 2 degrees Celsius in this century. And whereas New York State recognizes the urgent need to reduce and eliminate GHG emissions in the atmosphere, passing the 2019 Climate Leadership and Community Protection and Climate Act, committing the state to reduce GHG emissions by 40% by 2030 below 1990 levels, and achieve net zero emissions by 2050, meet 70% of electricity needs for renewable resources by 2030, 100% of electricity needs from zero emission resources by 2040, ensure a just and equitable transition that leaves no one behind, and dedicate up to 40% of the benefits of clean energy investments to disadvantaged communities. And whereas the New York State Climate Action Council has approved for the public comment on draft scoping plan to meet the New York's climate and equity goals. And whereas the scoping plan calls for a shifting to energy efficient electrification in buildings and transportation as a primary solution to replace fossil fuel combustion in these sectors, which together account for 60% of the state's carbon emissions. And whereas the scoping plan calls for a phase out of emissions from fossil fuel fired electricity generation while ensuring support and protections for impacted workers as they transition to clean energy jobs. And whereas the 2021 job studies of the Just Transition Working Group for the New York State Climate Action Council estimates that meeting New York's climate goals will result in a net gain of 189,000 jobs across the state by 2030 alone, with the ratio of jobs gained to jobs displaced of 10-1. And whereas the scoping plan includes measures that would expand the development of renewable resources and battery storage, encourage agrivoltaic and also co-location of agricultural activities with solar and wind, and provide resources to communities to assist with new permitting and land use planning. And whereas the scoping plan recognizes the critical role that rural landscapes play, both natural and working lands, in sequestering carbon emissions and enabling the state to achieve net zero emissions, and the importance of agricultural land preservation, open space protection, support for farmers to improve soil health, and policies that expand afforestation and reforestation and incentivize and assist private landowners in implementing sustainable forest management practices. And whereas the integration analysis for the scoping plan finds the meeting emissions reduction of goals of the Climate Act is technically feasible and will have the additional significant benefit of improving public health by eliminating coal pollutants from fossil fuel combustion, resulting in an estimated $50 to $120 billion in health-related savings by 2050. A lot of words. And whereas according to NYSERDA,
Okay.
over half of what New Yorkers currently spend on energy leaves New York mostly for fossil fuels, and whereas our communities will be better served by keeping energy spending primarily within the local economy. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Austining affirms the critical importance of meeting the emissions and equity goals of the Climate Act, which will help mitigate dangerous warming while delivering the additional benefits of improving public health, economic opportunities, agricultural land, open space protection, and quality of life for the people of Westchester County. And be it further resolved, the town of Austining declares its support for prohibiting an expansion of fossil fuel infrastructure, which contradicts the goals of the Climate Act, and for transitioning to efficient electricity-based solutions for buildings and transportation. Be it further resolved, the town of Austining supports the planning process for a managed transition of utility gas systems that maintains affordable, safe, and reliable utility service and protects low and moderate income households from an undue burden on the transition. And be it further resolved, the town of Austining supports the recommendations of the scoping plan for advanced building codes that will improve the energy efficiency of new buildings, creating healthier living and work environments while reducing monthly energy costs. And be it further resolved, the town of Austining supports the recommendations of the scoping plan to phase in code requirements prohibiting on-site combustion of fossil fuels in new buildings over a 2024 to 2027 period. And be it further resolved, the town of Austining calls on the Climate Action Council to include in the scoping plan the necessary policies and support to help owners of existing buildings improve energy efficiency and transition to zero emissions equipment, ensuring cost parity with fossil systems with incentives and financing assistance as necessary. And be it further resolved, the town of Austining supports scoping plan recommendations that make electric vehicles more affordable relative to gas-powered vehicles and expand fast charging infrastructure. And be it further resolved, the town of Austining urges the Climate Action Council to include the scoping plan recommendations to expand assistance for all electric municipal transit systems. Be further resolved, the town of Austin further urges the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and NYSERDA to immediately launch a sustained statewide public education and information campaign on the benefits of a clean energy economy and climate-friendly choices by consumers of heating and cooling systems, transportation and products and appliances. And be it further resolved, the town of Austin shall forward copies of this resolution to the Commissioner of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, President of NYSERDA, Chair of the New York State Public Service Commissions, and New York State Climate Action Council, and members of the State Senate and Assembly representing the town of Austin.
Do you have a motion? for
Well said.
Giving Martha a very big hand for getting through that?
Yes,
Very good.
Yes, a motion for that. Okay, now a motion for the resolution. Do you have?
so moved.
Second.
Okay, so clearly we all need to do our part to reduce emissions and to curb climate change. New York State is leading the way with the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, CLCPA, or Climate Act as we called it. And this scoping plan will serve as a roadmap for meeting climate goals. I'm thankful to Mayor Nikki Armacost, who brought this draft resolution to our attention to support the CLCPA in Hastings. And we're happy also to support the plan. I will also be voicing my support at an upcoming public hearing on the CLCPA, which is taking place in Westchester, I believe Thursday of this week, in Peekskill at the Paramount Theater, and that is open to the public. So I hope others will be there as well to voice their support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, moving along.
Okay. Resolution recertification of special permit Metro PCS New York LLC. Whereas by resolution dated April 13, 2010 resolution attached hereto and made a part hereof, the town board granted a special permit to Metro PCS New York LLC, the applicant, for a wireless telecommunications facility, the facility at 400 Executive Boulevard in the unincorporated town of Austin, subject to the conditions and limitations set forth in Chapter 182A of the Town Code into 2010 resolution. And whereas the facility when constructed in accordance with the 2010 resolution, and whereas the applicant submitted an application dated March 30th, 2022, and supplemented by letter dated April 2022 for recertification of the special permit. And now therefore be resolved that the town board determines this to be a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQRA, for which no environmental review is required. And be it further resolved, the town board hereby grants the applicant's recertification of the special permit subject to compliance with the terms and conditions of Chapter 182A of the Town Code into 2010 resolution. And be further resolved, under the special permit, the applicant may only perform modifications to the facility that constitutes an eligible facilities request under 47 CFR statute 1.6100 or otherwise required to be permitted administratively under federal, state, or local laws, rules, or regulations, and prior to making any other changes, modifications, or additions to the facility, the applicant shall make an application to the town board for an amended special permit. And be it further resolved, the applicant shall make an application to the town board for recertification of the special permit on or before November 10th, 2026, and failure to do so may result in the special permit ceasing.
Thank you so much. And do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we are just basically letting them continue to do what they've been doing. And that's pretty much the whole story with this application. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
I do like the language that Christie put in though.
Very nice language. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Donation outdoor shed for Dale Cemetery. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin accepts the donation of a used outdoor shed at an estimated cost of $750 from Peter Connolly for use at Dale Cemetery.
Estimated value, but yes, we'll go with that. Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We say thank you to Superintendent Pete Connolly for this donation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Okay, resignation planning board. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin accepts with regret the resignation of Gareth Hodenham from his positions as member and chair of the town planning board effective May 10th, 2022.
Motion
Don't wanna.
with that. Can I have a motion from somebody else?
So moved.
Uh, Okay, thank you. So with very much regret, we are accepting the resignation of Gareth Hoffman from the planning board. During his 8 years of dedicated service, Gareth has helped ensure that developments in the town are environmentally sound, always advocating for our streams and living creatures who don't usually have a voice in the process. Gareth was also involved in the comprehensive plan update in 2014 and served as the liaison from the planning board to the comp plan steering committee for the comprehensive plan we are about to adopt later this evening. Thank you, Gareth, for your service, for your creativity, your thoughtfulness. You are leaving very large shoes to fill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's very kind.
Aye.
Appointment Planning Board Chair. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Austin hereby appoints Carolyn Stevens as Chair of the Town Planning Board effective May 11th, 2022.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So as we say goodbye to Gareth, we are grateful to Carolyn Stevens for stepping up to the chair position. Carolyn has served on the planning board for a few years now, was previously the mayor of the village of Scarsdale, and has been an active stakeholder in the conversation about affordable housing in Westchester County. We are confident that she will do an excellent job in this new role. Thank you, Carolyn, for stepping up. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Okay, resignation zoning board. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Austin accepts with regret the resignation of Nicholas Emmanuel Enriquez from his position on the Town Zoning Board effective March 22nd, 2022.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
So we don't have to do this one with too much regret because we appointed Manny Enriquez to the planning board a few weeks ago, but we neglected to accept his resignation from the zoning board of appeals. Thank you, Manny, for volunteering on behalf of the town to this slightly more active town board or board role. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Okay, revised proposal, noise consultant. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Austin accepts the revised proposal from B. Lang Associates, Fort Salonga, New York, 11768 for additional environmental consulting services regarding noise in the Crotonville area of the unincorporated town of Austin for an additional amount not to exceed $2,600.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
So B. Lang Associates has been assisting the town with responding to constituent complaints regarding noise in the Crotonville area of town. There is a small amount of remaining work that we'd like them to do for the town following a noise study that was conducted by Metro North. Just FYI, we had the data for whatever reason was not coming through. So they're still working on transferring the data so that the consultants can analyze it. And that's specifically to evaluate whether or not the noise complaints that we are hearing are emanating from the Croton train station. And if there are any suggestions as to how we might be able to get those to be mitigated. We appreciate the expertise that we have from B. Lang as we navigate this complex issue. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Okay. Resolution, adoption of comprehensive plan, sustainable Austin. Whereas for more than 2 years, the town board, with the assistance of the steering committee appointed by the town board, comprised of town residents, stakeholders, and officials, has been preparing a new comprehensive plan with ample public input and participation. And whereas a draft comprehensive plan was preliminarily completed entitled Sustainable Austin, dated January 27th, 2022, and it has been available on the town's website for the comprehensive plan, www.sustainableaustin.com, and in the town clerk's office for review and inspection during normal business hours. And whereas the town board, as the only involved agency, declares itself lead agency pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQRA, for the review and adoption of the comprehensive plan. And whereas the town's consultant planners prepared a full environmental assessment form, Part 1, and the town board adopted a full environmental assessment form, Part 2. And whereas pursuant to General Municipal Law 239-M, the town board circulated the draft comprehensive plan and all applicable documents and information to the Westchester County Planning Board and those municipalities abutting to the town. More than 30 days have elapsed since said circulation, and the town board has only received comments from the Westchester County Planning Board dated March 25th, 2022, which comments were discussed at a town board work session and incorporated into the comprehensive plan. And whereas the town board opened a duly noticed public hearing on the draft comprehensive plan at its legislative session on March 8th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m., which public hearing was adjourned and continue to multiple subsequent legislative sessions and members of the public having the opportunity to attend and be heard. The public hearing was closed on April 26, 2022. And whereas, while the public hearing was open, the town board made modifications to the comprehensive plan to address public comment, with the final draft being last revised April 10th, 2022, and gave the public an opportunity to review and comment on those changes. And now therefore be it resolved, the town board hereby adopts the environmental assessment form part 3 dated May 10th, 2022, issuing a negative declaration determining that the adoption of the comprehensive plan does not have the potential for any significant adverse environmental impacts, thus ending the SCQRA process. And be it further resolved, applicable town staff and consultants are hereby directed to file and distribute the negative declaration in accordance with 6 NYCRR 617.12B, publish a negative declaration in the environmental notice bulletin in accordance with 6 NYCRR 617.12C, and further distribute, file, and or publish in the negative declaration and any related documents as required by law. And be it further resolved, the town board hereby adopts a comprehensive plan entitled Sustainable Austining, last revised April 10th, 2022. And be it further resolved, the comprehensive plan shall be filed in the office of the town clerk and with the Westchester County Planning Board.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So finally, after 2+ years of work, lots of steering committee meetings, public meetings, surveys, and much more, we are adopting our new comprehensive plan with sustainability elements, sustainable austining. This plan sets forth laudable goals in the areas of connectivity and mobility, open space and natural resources, housing preservation and development, sustainable infrastructure, community and culture, and economy. We now have a fantastic roadmap to make the town of Austining more sustainable in every sense of the word. And we can't wait to get the work going. At next week's work session, our town planner, Valerie Nostra, will be back before the town board to discuss next steps to bring this plan to life. We do not intend for it to sit on a shelf collecting dust. We want to work towards implementing the goals that it sets forth and making our community better for the future. Thank you to my current board colleagues, as well as previous town board members, Jackie Shaw and Northern Wiltshire, for supporting this project, to the comp plan steering committee, to all the members of our public who came to meetings, put stickers on poster boards, emailed, called, or participated in some way in shaping this plan. And of course, the New York State DEC for helping to fund it with a grant from the Climate Smart Communities program. Let's get to work. Any comments or further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Woo-hoo. Any comments on the plan? That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Martha, I think the version that I sent you was cut off. My copier was messed up. Do you want me to take over on the tax cert resolutions?
Sure, that's fine. Thank you.
If you want to keep going, I mean.
I can take a break. I can take a quick
Okay.
break, and then yeah, I did notice that, and I just thought that you had accidentally blocked.
No,
the-
I won't bother
okay.
everyone with this, but our copier wasn't working today. So
Okay, go ahead.
I'll give Martha a little bit of a break and I'll take over. Just for the benefit of the public who may be attending tonight or viewing this, the resolutions on the tax certiorari proceedings are not going to be read in their entirety, but the agenda is available online and in the clerk's office and in the supervisor's office. Resolution I. Whereas proceedings pursuant to Article 7 of the Real Property Tax Law of the State of New York were instituted by 40 South Highland Avenue LLC and 56 South Highland Avenue LLC against the town of Austining, New York, to review the tax assessments made on petitioner's property located at 40 South Highland Avenue in the town of Austining, New York 10562, and designated on the tax map of the town of Austining as section 89.19, block 4, lot 68, for tax assessment years 2016 through 2021, and to review the tax assessments made on petitioner's property located at 56 South Highland Avenue in the town of Austining 10562, and designated on the tax assessment map of the town of Austining 10562 as section 97.07, block 3, lot 46, all of which proceedings are now pending in the Supreme Court of the State of New York, County of Westchester. And whereas the above petitioner has agreed to a compromise and settlement of such proceedings, subject to the approval of the town board, correcting and reducing the assessed valuation of its real property and improvements. Now therefore be it resolved that settlement of these proceedings on the terms set forth herein is hereby accepted and approved, subject to approval by the Supreme Court's Westchester County, wherein such proceedings are pending.
A motion.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Resolution M, whereas proceedings pursuant to Article 7 of the Real Property Tax Law of the State of New York were initiated by 40 South Highland Avenue LLC. Is this a different one, Victoria?
They are different. I'm a little confused by it, but I did ask our paralegal in our assessor's office to review the agenda, and it is unclear.
Thank you. Okay. Whereas proceedings pursuant to Article 7 of the Real Property Tax Law of the State of New York were initiated by 40 South Highland Avenue LLC and 56 South Highland Avenue LLC against the town of Austining, New York, to review the tax assessments made on petitioner's property located at 40 South Highland Avenue in the town of Austining, New York, 10562, and designated on the tax map of the town of Austining as section 89.19, block 4, lot 68 for tax assessment years 2016 to 2021, and to review the tax assessments made on petitioner's property located at 56 South Highland Avenue in the town of Austining, 10562, and designated on the tax assessment map of the town of Austining, 10562 as 97.07, block 3, lot 46, all of which proceedings are now pending in the Supreme Court of the State of New York, County of Westchester. And whereas the above petitioner has agreed to a compromise and settlement of such proceedings, subject to the approval of the town board, correcting and reducing the assessed valuation of its real property improvements. Now therefore, it is hereby resolved that settlement of these proceedings on the terms set forth herein is hereby accepted and approved, subject to the approval of the Supreme Court, Westchester County, wherein proceedings are pending.
A motion.
So moved.
second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Resolution N, whereas proceedings pursuant to Article 7 of the Real Property Tax Law of the State of New York were initiated by Highland Terrace Owners Corp. against the town of Austining, New York, to review the tax assessments made on petitioner's property located on Holbrook Road in the town of Austining, New York, 10562, and designated on the tax map of the town of Austining as section 97.12, block 1, lot 88 for tax assessment years 2016 to 2021, and to review the tax assessments made on petitioner's property located at 123, 125 South Highland Avenue in the town of Austining, 10562, and designated on the tax map of the town of Austining, 10562 as section 97.11, block 4, lot 32, all of which proceedings are now pending in the Supreme Court of the State of New York, County of Westchester.
Motion?
Whereas
Oh, did I skip ahead? No.
Whereas the above petitioner has agreed to a compromise and settlement of such proceedings, subject to the approval of the town board, correcting and reducing the assessed valuation of its real property and improvements. Now therefore be it resolved, the settlement of the proceedings on the terms set forth herein is hereby accepted and approved, subject to the approval of the Supreme Court, Westchester County, wherein such proceeding is pending.
Now do I have a motion?
So moved.
second,
Oh, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed?
Resolution O, whereas proceedings pursuant to Article 7 of the Real Property Tax Law of the State of New York were instituted by Research Center on Natural Conservation, Inc. against the town of Austining, New York, to review the tax assessments made on petitioner's property located on 235 Elm Road in the village of Briarcliff Manor in the town of Austining, New York, and designated on the tax assessment map of the town of Austining has section 98.19, block 2, lot 11 for tax assessment years 2018 and 2019, which proceedings are now pending in the Supreme Court of the State of New York, County of Westchester. And whereas the above petitioner has agreed to a compromise and settlement of such proceedings, subject to the approval of the town board, correcting and reducing the assessed valuation of its real property and improvements. Now therefore be it resolved that settlement of the proceedings on the terms set forth herein is hereby accepted and approved, subject to the approval of the Supreme Court, Westchester County, wherein such proceedings are pending.
Motion.
So moved.
second,
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Resolution P, whereas proceedings pursuant to Article 7 of the Real Property Tax Law of the State of New York were instituted by Scarborough Manor Owners Corp. against the town of Austining, New York, to review the tax assessments made on petitioner's property located at 16 Rockledge Avenue in the town of Austining, New York, 10562, and designated on the tax assessment map of the town of Austining as section 97.15, block 1, lot 37, for tax assessment years 2020 and 2021, which proceedings are now pending in the Supreme Court of the State of New York, County of Westchester. And whereas the above petitioner has agreed to a compromise and settlement of such proceedings, subject to the approval of the town board, correcting and reducing the assessed valuation of its real property and improvements. Now therefore be it resolved that settlement of the proceedings on the terms set forth herein is hereby accepted and approved, subject to the approval of the Supreme Court, Westchester County, wherein such proceedings are pending.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolution Q. Whereas proceedings pursuant to Article 7 of the Real Property Tax Law against the State of New York were instituted by West First Management Corp. Against the town of Austining, New York, to review the tax assessments made on petitioner's property located on 170 North Highland Avenue in the town of Austining, New York, 10562, and designated on the tax assessment map of the town of Austining as section 89.15, block 1, lot 14.1, for tax assessment years 2016 to 2021, which proceedings are now pending in the Supreme Court of the State of New York, County of Westchester. And whereas the above petitioner has agreed to a compromise and settlement of such proceedings, subject to approval by the town board, correcting and reducing the assessed valuation of its real property improvements. Now therefore be it resolved that settlement of the proceedings on the terms set forth herein is hereby accepted and approved, subject to the approval of the Supreme Court, Westchester County, wherein such proceedings are pending.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Resolution R. Whereas proceedings pursuant to Article 7 of the Real Property Tax Law of the State of New York were instituted by Walden Road Associates LLC, the town of against the town of Austining, New York, to review the tax assessments made on petitioner's property located on 9 Walden Road in the town of Austining, New York, 10562, and designated on the tax assessment map of the town of Austining as section 89.20, block 3, lot 42, for tax assessment years 2016 to 2021, which proceedings are now pending in the Supreme Court of the State of New York, County of Westchester. And whereas the above petitioner has agreed to a compromise and settlement of such proceedings, subject to the approval of the town board, correcting and reducing the assessed valuation of its real property and improvements. Therefore be it resolved that settlement of the proceedings on the terms set forth herein is hereby accepted and approved, subject to the approval of the Supreme Court, Westchester County, wherein such proceedings are pending.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Back to you, Martha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Monthly reports. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austining hereby accepts the following monthly reports for the month of April 2022. Tax receiver, town highway, town clerk, town building department, town supervisor, and Dale Cemetery.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, we are up to a visitor recognition on any subject whatsoever. If you'd like to be recognized, please raise your virtual hand. And when recognized, please introduce yourself with your name and your address, and you will be afforded 1 4-minute opportunity to speak.
Hey, Miss Jeffrey, I saw your hand go up first, so you have been allowed to talk. You can unmute yourself.
Oh my, I've been allowed to talk. It's awesome. Hi, everybody. Oh, Lord, I lost you guys. Thank you for all of that information on a Tuesday night. I came on late, so I apologize for anything I asked that you might have gone over. And I want to just mention one thing. I was unable to locate a link for the meeting on the town board website. So I just might want to say that for anybody who might be trying to get on at the last minute, it wasn't easy. I had to actually go back and find the emails that I get in order to find the link. And I just think that might be a little bit too much for anybody who's trying to get on. So maybe you can take a look at that. So I have sent a couple of emails asking about Morningside Drive because it was wonderfully paved on one side of it, the longer side of it, before the winter months came, and I understood it stopped because of the weather. But we're in May and I hadn't seen anything starting to gear up. And I can't seem to get a confirmation or a response to my multiple emails asking when the paving for this side of Morningside Drive is going to start, because at this point, anybody whose car is messed up is gonna have a direct ability to email the town. So is there any update? Because
Yes. Yeah, we actually did an update earlier in the meeting, just so you know, it was mentioned in the announcements. I thought that we might have also mentioned it in one of our blasts that paving is starting again. We'll probably start right after Memorial Day, and it'll take about 2 weeks.
okay, well, I just want to say that I know you guys are very busy and I totally do understand that, but my memory serves, the emails are not so inundating that nobody can send an email back saying, hi, we heard you and we'll get back to you. And I never got any response.
Apologies,
at
I will
all.
go look back, and I thought that I had responded to you after I got
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And
Sorry.
I get it. I get that weather and, scheduling, and I appreciate the response. So thank you so much for that.
Sure.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Next up, do we have Jamie?
Yes, we do. Okay. Jamie, you are allowed to talk.
Hi, Jamie Black. Just wanted to thank everybody for the commitment to protecting our water quality and the watershed, specifically all the efforts that are going into the overlay zone for the multiple municipality endeavor, because as everyone knows that, the Indian Brook Reservoir is fed by municipality, both Newcastle as well as Cortland, and all efforts to have everybody understand the importance of protecting our drinking water supply are strong and supported and important endeavors. Additionally, thank you for approving the additional funds to try to identify so that we can mitigate the noise. We have spent a lot of time investigating, and our exploration and the noise logs that we create suggest that the noise is emanating from the operation of the Harmon Yard, not the Croton Harmon Station. The noise is the worst, or the highest levels, between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. and the last train entering the station enters at 1 a.m. So I think that every effort that is put toward trying to resolve the issue with the noise pollution stemming from the operation of the Harmon Yard is greatly appreciated, and an effort that we are all committed to giving you our unlimited support to resolve the issue on our behalf. And we've been kind of struggling with this for almost a year now, and it is difficult and painful to continue to be patient. And Dana has shown that this is an important commitment that she's made, and we're just very grateful for the additional support from the remaining members of the board. So thank you very much for all of that. And I too am very sorry that Gareth is leaving his role in the planning board, and working with him on the noise mitigation efforts. He is such an asset to community in terms of his intellect as well as his demeanor. So my hope is whoever replaces him comes to that position with the same attributes. So thank you very much for everything that you guys are doing on our behalf. It's greatly appreciated and essential. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jamie. Appreciate it. Appreciate
Sure.
you taking the time to say so. And we do certainly hope that our efforts will be worthwhile on the Metro North issue or related issue, the noise. So with that, I think we are coming to the end of our visitor recognition section, and I would ask for a motion to adjourn to executive session for advice of counsel and personnel.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Next week, we will continue in our all Zoom format with a work session on Tuesday, May 17th. Have a great week. I hope I see you at all of those wonderful events taking place this weekend. See you soon.